So here we are in the new year, but that new year also means a new minimum wage in Denver. That's now climbed up to $17.29 an hour.
That's 9% higher than last year to keep pace with inflation in the metro area. But 9 News reporter Luis De Leon is joining us now, along with our 9 Months to Know team, to explain what minimum actually means when it comes to a wage. It may not still be a livable wage for everyone.
Taking pride in your line of work.
Para nosotros fue importante nuestro trabajo porque era cuidar a las personas que están en estos edificios diarios.
For many, taking pride came with health risks during the height of the pandemic.
Yo arriesgaba a mi familia. Mis compañeras arriesgaban a su familia.
Also like many, Juliana Guerrero, a janitor in Denver, still showed up since it meant taking care of her family. The same deal for her fellow workers, she says.
Porque ahorita es debatirnos entre pagamos la renta, pagamos la comida, llevamos a nuestros hijos a la escuela.
As a member of the union, SEIU Local 105 in Denver, she also took part in negotiations with janitorial contractors to help her fellow workers. You see, Denver raised the minimum wage this year for non-tipped workers to $17.29 an hour. 9 Wants to Know found that that's a 70% increase from 2018, which outpaces inflation's growth of 19% in a similar time period. But what constitutes a living wage could vary depending on the report. A professor from MIT, for example, developed a living wage model showing that a single person living in the Denver metro area without kids needs to make $19.62 an hour to meet basic needs while also maintaining self-sufficiency. That number goes up to $38.42 an hour if an adult is responsible for caring for a child.
We call it a living wage, not a minimum wage.
Stephanie Felixoe is president of SEIU Local 105. She believes conversations around negotiating wages starts with understanding.
You know, our members and the workers being affected positively by these increases are obviously being impacted immensely and are grateful, and that we can also say in the same sentence that it's still not enough.
And while workers like Guerrero acknowledge that the recent wage increase is helpful, they're ready to push for more.
Pues que tenemos que seguir peleando, seguir luchando para que nuestros representantes entiendan que ellos tienen que dar más, un sueldo mejor para que la gente pueda vivir cómodamente.
So that MIT professor that we talked about there says some of the things to help close the gap include building more affordable housing, helping pay for transportation, subsidizing child care, some of the things that we've heard about in the past, Kim.
Yeah, when we think about this and the impact it has all the way around families, and I mean, many people complain about trying to find a place to live in Denver, period. But also businesses. We've heard from businesses saying that it's hurt them as well.
Right. Book Bar, for example, their owner posted that the nail in the coffin, it was a lot of factors that led to their closure that will be happening this month. But they said the rise in minimum wage did play a factor in there. And Stephanie Felixoe with the union there says this is all part of that conversation of, coming to the table and negotiating.
Yeah, something has to be done. We got to help everyone, families and businesses. Yeah. Thank you, Luis.
A grand jury has issued a 90-count indictment against 5 people accused of stealing cars worth over $800,000 in the Metro Denver area. That indictment says the 5 suspects would use fake IDs to test drive vehicles at car dealerships and then never return. A total of 23 cars were stolen over a 2-year period ending in March of 2021. Colorado's Attorney General Phil Weiser says he was deeply concerned by the size of the operation.
They were repeatedly engaging in this conduct in an organized and systematic way, preying on businesses and hurting people in Colorado. We are now in a position to hold them to account for those crimes.
Weiser said the 5 defendants also used fake IDs to open accounts at local storage facilities, where they then allegedly stole more than $100,000 worth of property from various storage units.
Let's take a look outside, and what is there to look at? Well, we got a few buildings in there. It is definitely a dreary, gloomy day. The good news is we don't have piles of snow on top of the piles of snow, Kathy.
That is so true. You always find the good news in there, unlike Tom.
Well, I was going to say that isn't even the worst of the fog. In some areas, you can't see the end of your arm.
And it's dangerous, you guys. Coming in from the South Metro this afternoon, people were driving on I-25 with their hazard lights on. Visibility was less than a quarter mile from the tech center down to Ridgegate Parkway, down to Castle Pines Parkway. This fog will be part of our forecast for this evening. And so just be mindful of that if you are out and about. Don't speed because you run into that fog and you can't see, and you don't want to run into another car in front of you. We did not have a lot of snow. Kim was excited about that. I think I was too. We're still seeing a lot of melting on the roadways, the side streets, still pretty icy. We got a little dusting or kind of a skiff of snow, I guess you would say. This fast-moving storm brought heavy snow to the high country, though it's still coming down up there. I-25 looks pretty good through the Denver metro area, but look at I-70. You can really see how the snow's coming down here when you look at the sign. Roads are icy and snowpacked, but this is a fast-moving storm. It's out of here tonight, and that means the snow will wind down. Not a super cold storm. 31 in Denver, 36 in Colorado Springs, 42 in Pueblo, mid-30s in the high country. Winds are picking up a little bit to the west, but mainly to the south, where we do have a high wind warning in effect for southeastern Colorado. Pretty storm, though. You can kind of see the synoptic features here, how the winds are rotating counterclockwise around the low. It's beginning to move out. This system's going to drop south and then go northeast, and wow, is it going to be a problem for our neighbors to the east. Just a glancing blow here in Colorado, but off to the east, oh, not so much. We'll see clearing skies overnight once the fog lifts. Sunny tomorrow. How about that? And you're going to love not only the forecast for Thursday, but Friday as well. We go even warmer. So we're dealing with fog, temperatures in the 30s. The numbers will drop a little bit after 9 o'clock. In Maine weather, more on the mountain snow forecast, because who doesn't want to get up into some of that powder? Some of the best conditions we've had in years at just about every ski resort. And then we've got some sunshine back in the forecast, although for Kim and I, Tom's kind of like our little ray of sunshine.
I gotta be honest, as great as that sounds, I'm still wowed by the synoptic features.
The synoptic.
I could go into that, you know, in more depth, because that was my favorite class.
I was gonna ask you to do it, but then I remembered we had viewers.
Oh, man, we might be interested.
Wouldn't want them to leave because
Come
of
on,
the...
man, I said you were the sunshine ray on this show. What was that, Debbie? Debbie Downer?
Maybe a synopsis on the synoptic features would be good.
Synoptic
Keep it.
features.
Thank you, Kathy.
Good
We'll
luck
see you in a few
again.
minutes.
Good luck with it. Good luck.
What can we do?
Here's some great news. After more than a week in hospitals in both Cincinnati and Buffalo, Demar Hamlin is finally at home.
He was discharged from a hospital in Buffalo today, just 9 days after suffering cardiac arrest on the field during Monday Night Football. The Bills tweeted today that Hamlin underwent extensive testing yesterday, and the doctors feel confident enough in his recovery to discharge him and allow him to rehab at home. It is great news for the Bills' safety, who had to watch Sunday's win against the Patriots from a bed in Cincinnati, hospital bed. As for when he'll play football again, that is definitely not clear, and his coaches say they're not pressing the issue.
Yeah, we'll leave it up to him. You know, his health is first and foremost on our mind as far as his situation goes, and then when he feels ready, you know, we welcome him back as he feels ready.
Recovery from an event like Hamlin suffered is typically measured in weeks to months. As for Hamlin's team, the Bills will take on the Dolphins in the wild card round Sunday at 11 a.m. our time.
Yes, those playoff teams are getting ready to try to win the Super Bowl. Then there are the non-playoff teams regrouping, preparing for next season. That includes the Broncos. And for them, it starts with finding a new head coach. They certainly haven't been wasting any time. 9 News Broncos insider Mike Kliss reporting today that the team held their third interview in 3 days with Jim Caldwell in for an in-person interview. He hasn't been working with a team since 2019, but of course he has 2 prior stints as a head coach, including taking Peyton Manning's Indianapolis Colts to a Super Bowl. He also brought the Detroit Lions to their 2 most recent playoff appearances. Jim Caldwell's interview follows Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh and Broncos defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. The Broncos say they still have 4 more interviews, at least that we know of, lined up for next week.
The Denver DA's office just added a new staff member. This one has 4 legs. You can meet Bodie. He's a 2-year-old yellow lab golden retriever mix. He's the new facility dog. Bodie is trained to provide emotional support for humans getting ready to testify and those having to take the stand in really difficult cases. Bodie spent 2 years in training to get ready for his job, and his handler, victim advocate Shannon McFate, says he's ready to start to adjust to life in the courthouse.
The dogs do absorb emotion, even if it's like, you know, we were working with a little girl yesterday, and even though he was just playing with her, he's checking in with me the whole time. He's feeling her emotions, her anxiety. And so they have to take breaks. They can't do 8 hours straight of this.
Oh my goodness, look at this face. He's going to be at the courthouse for about 8 to 10 years because that's usually when they retire a dog like this. But he'll sit at victims' feet under the stand, out of sight from the jury, and trained not to react at all unless there is a command. So the DA's office says there should be no distraction here at all. The support, I think, will be huge.
Well, Bodie looks like he's already an advocate for everyone, doing everything.
Can you imagine? It's just that comforting when dogs cuddle up next to you. They make you feel loved.
Most people, yeah, I think that would be your reaction, especially when you get a mellow boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting for them. Airports across the country not having a good day today. They're trying to get back on track after a full ground stop early this morning.
And we're going to get a chance to talk about it with our 9 News aviation expert as far as what caused all the delays and what this mix-up means about our current airline industry.